In this video, we're going to be replacing the motor mount on this 2005 Honda Element. We're going to put a floor jack underneath the vehicle on our oil pan. We're just going to use a 2x4 on the jack. We're just going to put a little bit of upward pressure to hold our motor into position. All right, so we just made contact, and we'll do about a half a push up on the floor jack. We don't really want to push the motor up, we just want to hold it in place. So this is an optional step. You're going to be working right here. So you're going to have a power steering pump reservoir right here, and the hoses may get in your way. If you decide to, you can lift your power steering pump reservoir straight up and put that pump reservoir slightly out of your way. You want to keep it vertical. You don't want that fluid to come out. What that allows you to do is have a little bit more access right here. So the first couple of bolts we're going to be removing are going to be the top portion here, holding your engine to the engine mount. We're going to use a 17mm socket. We're going to drop this right on here because it is pretty, you're going to need a deep socket for that. And we're just going to see if we can get our impact on there and back it off. There you go. And then right next to it, we have another 17mm. And you can see your engine started to drop slightly, so we know we're going to put a little bit more pressure on that jack. Just lift it back up slightly. There we go. This one's an actual bolt. And before we move forward, we have a ground cable on that bracket. That's going to be a 10mm. We'll take that off. You'll be able to swing this entire piece over. Now on the top of our motor mount, we have one more bolt. There it is, another 17mm nut. Now from here you have this top bracket, which is now removable. And you can take that right out and set that aside. We're going to reuse that. Underneath that, we have our old motor mount with 3 bolts on it we're going to remove. All 3 of these bolts are going to be 14mm. This one here is going to be a little tricky. It's going to come through the ABS area here. Just be careful not to let this thing run around and do any damage. $14mm here. And the last one here, because we moved our power steering lines, we can kind of get between there. Again, try not to drop these bolts in the car. So this piece here is our motor mount that we've been trying to get out. It's actually free. We're going to try and lift it straight out of the vehicle. We can move our hoses a little bit. And there you have it. Here's your motor mount. So our new motor mount is just going to drop right in. We have a little lip on it here that's going to go towards the motor. Again, we can move our power steering hoses slightly, lower in our new motor mount. At this point here, just take note that you haven't locked in your ground cable underneath it. What you also want to do is just make sure, we did this before we dropped this in, just make sure this area here is free of any dirt and debris underneath where this plate is going to sit down. Once you've got it in there, we can start putting our bolts back in. All right, we're going to start threading in our bolts by hand. And our motor mounts going into the body of the vehicle, those bolts are going to be torqued down to 43 foot-pounds. Now what we can do is move our ground cable out of the way. And lower in our motor to motor mount piece. And you're going to want to make sure that this is down as much as it will go. You don't want to rely on the bolts to pull it tight. You want to try and get that to seat the best you can before you put your bolts in. We have a good gap underneath here that I can get my finger on, under. So we're just going to give this a good tap down. We'll go ahead and reinstall our nut here. Our bolt. And the nut that goes onto our motor mount. Again, these are 17. We're just going to snug these up. We'll come back and torque these down to 40 foot-pounds. Now we can go ahead and reconnect our ground cable. That little tab is going to go just like that. And that's what holds it locked into place. So what we'll do to make it a little easier on ourselves, we'll put the bolt through just like that. See if we can get 1 or 2 threads in place. We'll hold our ground cable down, and we'll come back with our 10 mil and tighten it up. So now we're going to release our jack slowly. We should see 1/4 inch, maybe to a 1/2 inch drop in the motor, just settling into the new motor mount. If you see anything more than that, you definitely have some issues in here that you're going to need to tighten up. So we'll lower this down. Perfect. Now that your jack's down, we can put our power steering reservoir back into place, which means just pulling it back over here. There is I'll pull it out so you can see it. This sliding tab here, and there's a matching tab on the fender well here that you're going to slide it into. So pull it up on top of that and then push it down into the tab. Once you're done with that, you're all set.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.